Hi everybody, welcome back. As I mentioned in the last video, this video and the next couple are going to be, to do with that Halloween series that I'm starting. So, without further ado, we'll get it underway. The actual series is going to be, Halloween series 2011. Just because this is, as I mentioned, in the last series, if I start thinking of other things, I'll start sharing them. And as I mentioned in the last video, this one's not going to be so much about, like, the stuff, like, in the area, like Bobby Mackey's and everything. I mean, granted, this video in particular will be talking about Bobby Mackey's to an extent and everything. Excuse me. But, I'm not going to be so heavy-handed with it and everything. I want to mainly focus more in this video and the following videos for this series, more about, like, things about, like, Halloween itself, and, like, I'm going to be talking probably about, like, the origins of it. I haven't decided for sure, but this is all in honor of course, Halloween being at the end of the month, this month in October. Well, as I mentioned before, I have cable now, which I tell you what, I can't begin. Well, I actually mentioned the fact that I have cable in a movie review that I did, and I'll talk about that movie review here in another video. But yeah, as I mentioned, I have cable now, and you have no idea how much I appreciate it. Believe me, because it allows me to not only have the internet, and it'd be a lot better than what I had that was in this room. It actually works 100% of the time without any real issues. I had like a few hiccups earlier when we'd first gotten it, which is, normal. But afterwards, it's ran just as smooth as silk. I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate having internet that works all the time. Which reminds me, I am going to talk about why, not in this video, but in like another video probably later, about why we switched internet carriers. But as I've mentioned, we have cable now. Well, we got a DVR service with the cable, and I just I'd say probably about an hour ago finished watching last night, which would be Friday, October 24th, 2011's new episode of the Travel Channel's show called Ghost Adventures. And of course, if you have cable and you watch Ghost Adventures, you know the three guys that are on there on that show are named Zak Bagans, Nick Groff, and Aaron Goodwin. I happen to know all three of their names. Now, Zak, Nick, and Aaron were in the Winchester Mystery House out west in San Jose, California. The Winchester Mystery House, and I'll give you some background on it, it actually is, Winchester is, yes, exactly what you think, it's the gun people. Sarah Winchester actually went out there after a medium had told Sarah in the last century, my foot. I'm still thinking it's the 1990s, I'm sorry, in the late 1800s, 2 centuries ago, basically, to go out west, or not to go out west, but to go build a house. And, keep doing it, to assuage the vengeful spirits that got killed by the Winchester guns and blah, 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 and all that happy malarkey. Well, poor Sarah Winchester, who was so distraught, bought into it, and she ended up making the Winchester Mystery House, which is, from what I understand, 12 acres big and just, like, all kinds of crazy. I've seen different shows on it, not just Ghost Adventures, but like, like Strange Houses, and like several other ghost crews have been through there, exploring it and everything. And it's like, I hate to say it, but that house outside of Bobby Mackey's is one that I've seen like a lot on, to where I can talk somewhat intelligently of it, even though I've never actually been in California. Well, I've also never been inside of Bobby Mackey's, and that's like one place here locally that you won't be getting me in there dead or alive. I'm sorry. It's just something about that place. I just can't go in there. I don't know if it's not the country music, trust me. It's something else entirely. It's just something, just being around that place, it's just, I can't explain it. I mean, just to stand outside of Bobby Mackey's would make you not want to go in. I'm serious, that's what I'm feeling. It's just like that, you know, it's just a bad feeling about the place. That's why I won't go in. It's just, I'm just like, no. But anyway, that aside, I digress, back to the Ghost Adventures crew, Zak Bagans, Nick Groff, and Aaron Goodwin. Well, like I said, they were in the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. Well, what it is, and this is the reason why I named Bobby Mackey's in relation to the Mystery House. Well, the three guys, Zak, Nick, and Aaron, decided that they were going to do an experiment. Well, the experiment that they did involved not only the Winchester Mystery House, but Bobby Mackey's. And there was a third separate location, and it was the Washoe Club in Virginia City, Nevada. Well, they decided to do a three-way experiment, like make a phone call through Skype, a video three-way call through Skype. And I've mentioned Skype before, of course, in several videos on here. And if you know, as a side note, if you want to know like my opinions on Skype, I'm not going to flog a dead horse here, okay? If you want to know my opinions on them, I have stated previously what they are, and go watch those videos on Skype that I've talked about before. But yeah, seriously, what it is I can start off with Bobby Mackey's, outside of the Winchester Mystery House. Bobby Mackey's Music World is here in northern Kentucky, in Wilder, Kentucky, and it's on Kentucky Route 9, just inside Wilder city limits from Newport. And I've talked at length about Bobby Mackey, so we're not going to beat a dead horse on that one either. You know, I will mention like some other details about Bobby Mackey's in both this video and a subsequent video that are related to this, but you know, I'm not going to talk about them right this second. I'll get to that momentarily. But what happened is, when Zak, Nick, and Aaron did the three-way call, they were talking with a couple named Mark and Debbie Constantino in the actual Washoe Club in Nevada, and they were talking to a guy named Chris from Tri-State Paranormal here in northern Kentucky and Wilder at Bobby Mackey's. And I've mentioned this before about how Richard, or Mad Bad Voodoo, and I and Tony have talked on Skype on several other occasions and everything. What's really crazy is, and I want to set this up, they actually had it all there, and while they were there inside the Mystery House, Zak, Nick, and Aaron, they had another guy named Josh there with them, and Josh had this like low frequency machine that like picked up like very, very, very low frequency stuff, and you know, picked it up to where like they could hear like extra low stuff that people's ears couldn't hear or something, and it amplified it to where you could hear it. And what happened is while they were monkeying around with that and they were getting ready to start rolling, stuff started happening. Like, for example, Mark and Debbie Constantino, they're in Nevada, and they started this at 10 p.m. San Jose time, which was also 10 p.m. in Nevada, and 1 a.m. here locally, which is about 4 hours apart. What wound up happening is the Constantinos' equipment had a complete failure, and they were, you know, trying to figure out what was going on. But they also, while they were waiting for it to come up with their helpers and everything, the Constantinos were doing what's called EVP sessions to see if there was any messages or anything, and they actually, from what I saw on the show, actually caught the spirit saying, you know, like the Constantinos said, did you know, not want to talk to Zak, Nick, and Aaron? And a disembodied voice answered on the machine, the EVP machine, and said, yeah. I'm like, really? I mean, of course, I don't claim, and I'll state this now just for the record, I don't claim that this stuff actually works. I've not personally used it, you know, like the EVP machines or anything. Anything on, like, that show, like Ghost Adventures or any of those ghost shows, like, you know, like paranormal sightings or whatever, that's not something I claim to have ever used. So I don't know if the stuff actually works. Or like a millimeter or what have you. You know, I can't claim that that stuff works. I mean, they claim that it does, and I can't tell you if it's also made up for TV or whatever, but, you know, this is just what they show, and I'm just talking about what they show on here. Okay, that's all I'm doing, just for the record. Now, in the meantime, while the Constantinos are trying to get their stuff fixed, Chris and a girl named Melissa, and I didn't catch the other fella's name down at Bobby Mackey's. Hang on a second. You know, sorry, I had a drink real quick. The three of them were down in the basement here in northern Kentucky at Bobby Mackey's Music World over in Wilder. And, you know, in the meantime, Zak, Nick, and Aaron are over in the Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California. Well, Chris and his two fellow investigators were near that closed up well down in the basement of Bobby Mackey's called commonly the Portal to Hell. But what happened is, while the Constantinos in Nevada were working on getting their stuff back up, Nick and, you know, Zak and Nick and Aaron started communicating with Chris and Chris's team here down here in Wilder. And what happened is they started hearing like growling and footsteps, and when they started hearing like banging and beating around at Bobby Mackey's, there was matching banging and thumping in the seance room, which was literally like the next room over from where Zak and Aaron and Nick all were, and they were hearing banging and beating around inside of Bobby Mackey's basement at the same time. It was the exact same noises. And then this like one vortex thing at the Mystery House, the Winchester Mystery House, started going ballistic in the seance room, which was like the very next room over, and they show it going ballistic on the show. And right about the time that this all is going on, Aaron Groff, who was at the Mystery House in San Jose, started feeling sick to his stomach, and Aaron also said that he was feeling like nauseous with like headaches and everything like that. And like I mentioned, there was unexplainable growls heard at the bar in Wilder as well. And the girl Melissa that was with Chris at the bar got touched a few times from behind. And Aaron Groff, my foot. Aaron at the Mystery House got a message from one of the ghosts at the bar here in Wilder calling Aaron an ass. And what it is Aaron was swearing at the ghost at Bobby Mackey's, and he was, you know, of course, you know, on American television, it's you bleepity bleepity bleep. And you could hear the first letter was effing, you effing bleepity bleepity bleep ghost. And I'm like thinking, but you know, Zak said that Aaron, you know, looked possessed and everything. But what it was is Aaron looked at Zak, and Zak looked at Aaron, and Zak was like, Aaron, are you okay? You know, you're not looking like yourself or anything. And right about that time, Chris at Bobby Mackey's got a message that was calling Aaron an ass. Once the Constantinos, though, on the other hand, got their systems back up to where they were back on Skype, they reported to the other two places, being Zak and Aaron and Nick at the Mystery House, and, you know, the folks at Bobby Mackey's, that the Constantinos had messages from the ghosts at, you know, the Washoe Club that was basically, not so many words, go away, and we don't really want to talk to them. And it just, you know, was really interesting. And this lasted I'd say for about an hour, maybe 2. And they eventually just were like, okay, you know, this experiment was a success and whatever. And they just called it quits, you know, after a few minutes. Excuse me. Sadly, of course, as time progressed, and it was about 1 a.m. in San Jose, which was, you know, a few hours later. You know, it was like, you know, a couple hours later. You know, Zak, you know, he does like voiceovers in the show in different spots. Sadly, towards the end, and it was getting towards the end of the episode too. Sadly, towards the end, Zak just started feeling just really lousy, you know, and he just wasn't feeling right, you know. Well, and as it turns out, you know, right about that time, Zak's beloved grandma ended up dying right about the time that Zak was feeling rotten, and the grandma lived in Michigan. Zak said that the feeling of something being not quite right got so bad that he had to do something that they'd never done in 6 years, which was to end an investigation right then and there, which he said was just off the hook unusual for him, you know, and something that he never wanted to do and he's never done, but he had just felt the need that he had to just stop right there. And what happened is he said that he went back to his hotel room and went to bed just because he just felt so just rotten. And he said when he woke up, like the next day or like the following morning or like whenever he woke up, he said that he had a message, and it was that his beloved grandma had passed away from something that Zak didn't say what she died of. Not that I care. Not that I'm not interested, but, you know, it's unfortunate. And he did show a picture of him with her at the end of the show, and I mean, she was a cute little old lady. You know, I mean, she looked very happy, and you could tell that she just loved Zak a whole lot. And what it was is towards the end of the show, Zak talks about how he went over to his grandma's house after she had died, and he said that it just felt different without her physically being there. I know what that's like, you know, and I can tell from what Zak was saying that he, you know, wasn't just saying that just to be polite, but he really loved his grandma. You know, Zak ended the episode with last night on October the 14th, 2011, saying that, you know, his life wasn't going to be the same without his grandma. And it showed Zak, a photo of Zak, a nice one, you know, and it's saying like Ghost Adventures, and he'd autographed it in like a great, like Sharpie kind of thing, or like a grease pen or something that said, "To Grandma, I love you and miss you. And I love you a whole lot," or something like that. Love, Zak. And he just, you know, he said, you know, this affected me so bad when I was inside the Winchester house. Incidentally, before I go on further about, you know, what all happened prior to this, in this episode, I want to say that if Zak Bagans is watching this video, Zak, you have my condolences. I know firsthand what it's like to lose a grandma. My grandparents, I've got, and people think this is unusual when I tell them this, but I've got 3 grandmothers. No, one of my grandmothers was not a lesbian, okay? Just for the record. What it is one of my grandparents, my grandfathers, more accurately, one of my grandfathers had 2 wives. Well, that grandfather has been long gone out of my life. He's deceased. You know, not like as in went crazy and ran off and joined the circus or the FBI or something. He got sick and died. Well, his 2 wives have subsequently died, and one of them's been gone for 9 years as of August, and the other one died just last year, also in August, which I find the irony of that to be just off the hook amazing. Like, they died like within 8 years of each other, like almost to like the day. The second one went second, oddly enough. You know, and speaking of ironies and stuff and people dying, I'm going to talk about that in another video with my grandparents, because I mean there's some stuff going on with them that was just totally ironic about their passings and stuff. But you know, my grandma that died just last year, I was particularly close to her, and I thought, well, it was about as close as I could be, considering, you know, that I didn't get to see much of her. She lived, you know, like way away from me, and she was almost impossible when she was alive to get a hold of. But anyway, that aside, you know, Zach, I am sorry about your grandma dying. So I do know, I mean, firsthand what it's like to lose a grandma. My husband also knows what it's like to lose a grandma. His grandma died recently, in the past, I'd say 4 years. She's died since Tony and I got married. But on a more interesting and positive note here, if you want to call it that, I thought that it was interesting that Zach, Nick, and Aaron decided to do a three-way call between those exact 3 locations in the country. You know, the Winchester House, the Washoe Club, and Bobby Mackey's. I don't know what possessed them to do Bobby Mackey's, other than the fact that possessions, demonic possessions, ironic, you know, they were wanting to, you know, see what would happen. Well, you know, you saw what happened. If you watched the show, that Aaron got kind of affected by it. They were like, kill Aaron and stuff like that, or I hate Nick and stuff like that. Well, that's the first time I've ever seen I've never seen any other television ghost hunting crew group do that before, like what Nick, Zach, and Aaron did last night with that 3-way call on Skype. And I hope that Zach, Nick, and Aaron try that 3-way call on Skype again sometime in the near future at another location. And try, please, if I can make a suggestion, try not to pick Bobby Mackey's again. I mean, seriously, what were you, you know, other than, you know, getting possessed, what else were you trying to prove that they could do it? But pick like another place. I mean, I would be interested to see what would happen if they did, like, say, Bachelor's Grove Cemetery in Illinois, you know, and like 2 other places, haunted places, like the Lizzie Borden house, and like, well, let's pick one that they did do, like one of the houses in Salem that they went to. I forget, like that one guy's house and everything. But that's just my thoughts. I mean, anyway, I just found the Ghost Adventures episode from October 14th of this year, 2011, to be very interesting. And Nick, why am I saying Nick? I've got Nick on the brain. Zach, I'm sorry about your grandma. Anyway, again. Well, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching. And I've got more stuff to say, not about Bobby Mackey's necessarily, but some other things to say about Halloween and everything in another video. So, hang on, alright?